Hi, this is Kate, and welcome to Ordinary Song. I haven't done a reading. Well, I say I haven't done a reading for a while. I have. I just haven't posted them because, quite frankly, it's very personal. So I've been going through some stuff recently. Anyway, I am being called to do a reading today. A ridiculous number of cards that I pulled last time for myself. Nope, actually haven't plugged in the microphone. So let's do that, shall we? Oh my goodness. Bear with. There you go. Better. Cool. So, doing a reading today. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, and I hope you're all well, by the way. I've been going through some stuff at work, been quite stressful, been very overwhelming, has meant that I have not been able to function properly, as in I lost all interest in absolutely everything outside of work. In work was just is extremely full on. My workload's tripled. Not getting any. I'm getting support, but it's overwhelming because I'm not used to having to ask for support. So I think this is part of a learning curve I am currently going through. The learning curve of being overwhelmed and letting people know that I'm overwhelmed, which is not something I've properly done before. I think in the past, when I've been overwhelmed with stuff, I've hidden it or dealt with it outside of work and tried not to bring my emotions to work. And this time has not been as easy to do that because people keep asking me if I'm okay, which didn't happen before. So people keep asking me if I'm okay. So and because I don't like I don't like lying, and I generally find it kind of impossible when someone asks me if I'm okay. I have been telling them the truth. Which is and it's meant that so I think on Thursday this week, it's Saturday now, so just a couple of days ago, I spent the whole day crying at work. I was working from home, but I've got a job now where people are contacting me constantly. So I had several meetings and I managed not to cry in most of them. But then people would call me and they'd be like, "Are you okay?" and I would burst into tears and tell them no, and let them know what was going on. So now I've got and I tried not to have the feelings of guilt for doing that because it's not something I've done before. It's not something that's ever happened. Actually, people listening and then taking note and then being like, right, well, what can we do about this? And so I mean, it wasn't the people that can actually do anything about it that can that asked me the questions. It was people from outside. But it's interesting because I was doing some writing earlier. I just do kind of I let the writing flow, and I did this after I did a little pendulum session with myself. And what came out was interesting. Hang on, I still have it open. Here we go. Basically, the crux of it was all of this is a growth. It's a growth thing. It's a challenging experience. It's a growth thing, and it's stimulating the conversation around being vulnerable, letting people see the authentic vulnerability, because it's not something that I've genuinely done before. Like, I think I've always felt guilty or stupid or something for doing it in the past, and I've sort of finally had a little breakdown. And then it's always, I've always had that feeling of it's my problem, people shouldn't have to be involved or anything like that. But in the past couple of days, it's been evident that being authentically vulnerable with people that you're not normally authentically vulnerable with, because you're at work, and normally at work you're putting on a front and you're only showing people the person that you think they should see at work. So when you're at work and you're being emotional and openly vulnerable and overwhelmed and panicking, I was having panic attacks and anxiety and all sorts of stuff, which is just not had that for years, and it's a lot to deal with. Past few weeks have been really difficult. Anyway, so all these people from outside my team are asking me if I'm okay. So now I've got all these people in the wider business just like aware that I'm not okay. And now I'm coming in the weekend. It's the weekend now, and I'm like, oh, now all these people know what's going on with me, and I actually, it feels better because I've shared, because I've been authentically myself. And part of what was came out in the writing earlier was that the fact that I was authentically vulnerable and emotional and overwhelmed and anxious and telling people about that meant that they had a door that they could walk through, and they joined me and they became their authentic selves, and they were able to show their own vulnerability, their own anxiety, their own experiences, and we were able to have a shared experience between us, which helped both of us. Because these aren't conversations we have at work normally. And all of that is part of my own personal growth. It's part of the integration process of going through a challenging experience so that I can step out of my comfort zone, because I want to change. I want things to be different. I want to be able to leave my job and move on. But the only way I can do that is if I am willing and able and physically capable of doing something different, being different, and this is one of the doorways. This is one of the ways. This is the challenge. This is the dark night of the soul that is opening the doorway, because it's showing me things about myself and about the people around me and about relationships and about vulnerability and about sharing, about being authentic. And it's not easy. It's generally not easy if you want to be authentic in every sense. It's not just about being authentic in a positive way. It's about being authentic in the whole way of being yourself, which includes those moments of vulnerability. So I think obviously moving forward, I'm going to be dealing with this moving forward anyway, because I can cry at the drop of a hat right now still. It's not like solved the emotional angst that's currently going on, but it has helped because I understand the process. I understand what's going on now. I understand that other people are there for me in a way that I would never would have thought. But it was weird actually, because I was having this really bad day. The first person to contact me was someone that I've only ever spoken to a couple of times, and I ended up, sharing with her, and she was completely understanding, and she told me about her experiences and everything like that. And then somebody else contacted me during the day that I hadn't spoken to in ages, and they were like, can we have a quick chat? So we had a quick chat, and I ended up being emotional because they asked me how I was, and there was that, and again he's asked me if I'd like to go to coffee next week, so which is lovely. Other people have contacted me and I haven't spoken to them in ages, all on Thursday. Other people I haven't talked to in ages are contacting me, randomly asking if I'm okay. Which is just like, what's going on? So yeah, and I was just not able to say yes, I'm okay. I wasn't physically able to say that. And when my boss asked me at the end of the day, "Are you okay?" I actually signed off because I couldn't answer that question. So that was the one person. I've told her how I've been feeling anyway, and she's kind of going through the same thing, but doesn't make it. There's no solution there because it is what it is. Anyway, so today I've got this message that's come through about being your authentic self. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about writing. I've been writing a book, about 76 pages in, which isn't too shabby, I think. And I've had some ideas about this one. It's the first time I've had ideas for the book for a really long time. I woke up with an idea this morning, and that's like, because my brain hasn't been functioning properly. It's just been dead. I've been so tired and unable to function that I haven't been able to think outside of just surviving, and it distracted myself with my phone, essentially. But this morning and last night, actually, I was able to properly just relax for some reason, and then I had dreams last night for the first time in a long time, a proper night's sleep, woke up with some ideas. So I've been thinking about writing this morning, listening to music and stuff, and which is also nice. I've not done that in ages either. And then I was like, called to do a tarot reading or some such thing, and share what's going on, because I'm not the only one going through overwhelm at the moment. You see, part of the message, I mean, I'm quite a solitary person. I like my solitude. I've always been that way since I was a kid. I was talking to my sister about that on last Friday. I like my solitude. I like my alone time. I need that time to reset, especially after a busy week. I need to recalibrate, if you like, and I can't do that if there's people about. It's nice to have people about, but part of what I was writing this morning was, I've chosen to be solitary, but it's meant that I haven't felt connected to people, so I haven't had that, and the people that I do connect with don't know me because they don't see me, because I've not been authentic, that they've seen the person I think they want to see or think they need to see, especially at work. So my friends don't understand any of this kind of spiritual tarot reading, oracle reading, that they don't even entertain the thought that it's a thing. So yeah, so I am quite a solitary person, but I think that I'm not the only one, and this is part of why I think I'm being called to do this today, is that it feels like there's a collective overwhelm, potentially. There's a collective need for solitude, but also connection. And I get this because I feel the need for connection with other people of the same like mind, if you like. Other people that understand when I need my alone time, it's not personal for them. It's not me saying to them, get out of my space. It's me saying, I need some room to recalibrate and bring myself back online. And I can't do that with people around. I love people. I love people. I have a team of people that I manage, and I love managing them. I love talking to people. I talk to people all day, every day at work. And it's just, that is part of, so I know I'm not a hermit, as in I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to be completely on my own all the time, but I do need that time to reset, I'll say that twice, recalibrate, reform my person back into, that's not coming out right. Reform my person, is that an actual sentence I'm going to use? Reform my person. Oh, okay, I mean, right, so when we think about ourselves, right, we have a layer of self we call ego, a layer of self which is the solid form of who we are. My door's just opened and it's creaky, I do apologise. And this is a reforming of the person. It's so you've had a day, in your day you've had several things happened, and this is the impression I'm getting right now. So this is just coming through as I'm speaking, so bear with me. So let's say in the day you've fractured into many different parts. So you've split out, and it's become overwhelming because you've got all these different things you have to do. All these different people you're expected to be today, because you've got to be an analyst, you've got to be a manager, you've got to be a problem solver and a detective, you've got to be an approver, you've got to be responsible for budget, you've got to be someone who's on top of absolutely everything, because otherwise it will fall apart. You've got to be accountable for all the things that have gone wrong. You've got to be in charge of everything, so you're actually aware of what's going on at all times. And if you're not aware of what's going on at all times and have it under control, then something's going to go tits up. And you've factored into all these different people, all these different expectations of you. And then at the end of the day, you stop working. And these things are all still there, you're still fractured. And this is what it's felt like. I've been like in the past few weeks. I've been fractured into all these separate parts, and every single one of these is a worry, is a concern, is an anxiety, it's an overwhelm, it's another thing to worry about, it's another thing to not have control over, or another thing to be lost with, it's another thing to add to your bucket. And if your bucket fills up, and then you've got no more room in the bucket, it just overflows, and it's overflowing, and you've got all these separate parts of you, all these separate anxieties, all these separate things on your mind constantly. They're moving around, and then don't sit still. They move, they grow, they shrink, they move again. Somebody else gets involved. They change, they move, they change. The anxieties grow. You sort one thing out, something else comes in, and then something else comes in altogether, and then that's an expectation. That one's finished, you're done with that, but then this one comes in and it's a problem, and then blah 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 blah. All these things are happening, and you're split out into all these fractions, all these factions of self. And every single one is a thought. Every single one is an anxiety. Yeah. So if you don't have time at the end of the day to clear the decks, to be like, these are not my problem right now, it's the end of the day, I cannot do anything anymore today, I am done for the day, those can wait until tomorrow. They will still be there tomorrow. Problem is that today you finish work and you're like, that thing's gonna, I've got some ideas about that as well. What could I do with that tomorrow? Actually, I need to get that under control. And then this thing that I need to make sure that request is in front of the director tomorrow. Otherwise, and then I need to make sure that this one's also sorted. And then actually that one, and then your evening is just remembering all the stuff you have to do for tomorrow, and you're fractured again. Moments later, after saying no more for today, you're like, oh yeah, and then these come up at night, they're in your head. You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning after going to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning, thinking about all these things, and you're like, I might as well log on. And then you log on, and then everything goes tits up anyway. So the solitude thing, I've realised, is necessary for several reasons. But there's also a thing about relationships, I guess, because they can be good distractions. Your phone is a good distraction. Talking to someone is a good distraction. Bitching to someone is a really good distraction, because you are able to verbalise it, able to get it out. When you're on your own, when you're solitary, when you're in the hermit mode, who have you got to express all this stuff to? How are you going to deal with this fractious self? How are you going to deal with all these expectations that you've put on yourself, and that you know is expected of you by other people? How do you deal with it? Because at the end of the day, these things still exist, and they're still there. You still have to do them the next day. How do you switch them off? How do you switch off the thoughts? How do you switch off this is what I've been struggling with. How do you stop more coming in? I don't have a good answer, but what I do have is this solitary time can also give you a chance to reform reform the person that you are, to actually acknowledge, I'm thinking now, acknowledge all these things exist. These things all exist. They're there. And I've reformed despite them. I've brought myself back in to a nice chunk of tourmaline, grounded, safe, protected. And all the negative thoughts are over here. They're over here. They're still there. There's still lots to deal with. But it's the weekend, or it's the evening. Nothing I can do about these now. That's a tomorrow me problem between 8 and 4 to 5 o'clock in the evening. Reforming the person. Reforming the person. The hermit. That's not a perfect answer, believe me. I know it isn't, because these things still exist, and they're not just going to go away. Oh, King of Pentacles in reverse. I don't know what that is in reverse. So that's not surprising, really, is it? Let's have a look at the book, shall we? Obsessing over riches, seeking status, greed, and need to balance the material with the spiritual. Need to balance the material with the spiritual. Uprights, overflowing material abundance, patience and determination, a confident and warm leader providing for others, comfort and security, personal growth, goals reached, prosperity and success. So yeah, in reverse, that's the battle between, that's not the battle, it's the coming together, it's the need to integrate, it's the need to reform. And that's what I was literally just talking about. And upright, it's having control of those material elements of self. Being able to reform, being able to have that settled knowledge of self, that spiritual connection to who you are, that fundamental understanding that you can look after yourself. You have the knowledge, you have the power, you have the balance, you have the ability to learn. I genuinely don't think this is just a personal thing. I know from talking to people this week and you know, logic, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who's overwhelmed. I'm not the only one who doesn't know how to handle all this stuff. Like all these fractions and these I keep wanting to say fractions of self. What I mean is, hang on, what's another word for fraction? I can't. Another word for fraction. Here's another word for fraction. Hang on, I'm going to look up in my... How am I going to do this? I am going to Google another... Sorry about this. Another word for fraction. Fragment. Fragment. That's the word I'm trying to say. Fragment of self. Fragment. Not fractions is similar, apparently. But it's similar as in smattering is also another word. And snippet. A snippet of self. Snippets of self. Makes it sound quite nice, doesn't it? Fragments of self. Fragmented. Broken up. And these are like individual worries, but they all come from past opinions and judgments of self that you've made, or that you've made that you think other people are making of you, of me. So these are all insecurities that I think other people have criticised me for in the past, but genuinely they haven't criticised me for it. Like, it's just in my head that they have. So not being good enough is a big one. Not being good enough, making mistakes that could be avoided. I genuinely think one of my managers thinks I should be a mind reader, so I do beat myself up for not being able to read her mind, in the sense of, you know, I can't read her mind. So anyway, that's something in my head. I'm like, oh, that's my fault. I should be able to do that. And then there's another manager who's similar. She wants us to all to be mind readers. Then there's the rotational expectation of the approval process in a public sector, a huge company that has more red tape than, I don't know, the devil. And then there's the just general kind of demand of time that people make. There's and the insecurity of not having enough time because, you know, you have to have a toilet break every now and then, and it's just all this. It's all this beating yourself up because you can't do that, beating yourself up because you're not good enough, beating yourself up, and all these separate little things are things I think I've criticised myself for in the past, and think that other people have judged me for not being able to do. So I don't actually know if my manager expects me to be a mind reader. I'm just in my head. I'm like, she expects me to be a mind reader, and I can't do that, and therefore I'm not good enough. It's incredibly unrealistic, right? I don't think she thinks we should be mind readers. I just think she thinks we should know what questions she's going to ask, and therefore should ask them before we speak to her, you know? And the same with that manager. And the fact of the matter is, though, that if I'm going to bitch about this, which I'm going to now because I've just decided to, if you have a process that requires a middleman, my team, a middleman to go back and forth between a requester and an approver with questions and try to clarify the request before it goes to the approver as much as possible. And you ask all the questions you can think of to clarify the request, make sure all the relevant information is there, to make sure that the approver doesn't have any questions once they've read the justification and the business case and blah, blah, blah. They've got all the information that they need to make a good decision, right? Should be fairly simple. But when you're dealing with 2,000 people writing requests, right? It's quite tricky. And then we've been doing this for years, so we really should be good at this. But at this point, we really should be good at this at this point. And the thing is that this is a 2-weekly cycle. So we've been doing a 2-weekly cycle with an approval process for years, and we are still not able to think of all the questions that the approver is going to ask. Why is that? Why is that? I realised the other day, the reason we've been doing this for years, every 2 weeks, and still haven't been able to achieve the expectation that we can ask all the questions that the approvers are going to ask about the request, is because it's impossible. Because the approver changes what they think and what they're going to ask every single time, because the approver, who is the person that's complaining about the fact that we can't ask all the questions in the first place, starts quibbling about things like a full stop being in the wrong place, a word missing, a spelling mistake, a date that doesn't matter in any shape or form being slightly off in an approval process for perm recruitment, where when you perm recruit someone, they will literally just start. The date when they start doesn't actually fucking matter on the headcount request. And these things don't occur to us when we're looking at them, because we're just like, that's a really simple request. Well, it's just like they're replacing someone that's left. And then when the approver looks at the request, they're like, oh no, there's a spelling mistake there, that date doesn't make sense, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, that doesn't actually stop you from approving the request, but it will. Because when we didn't think of asking all those questions, so we have to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and pick up absolutely everything. And it's impossible. It's impossible. We've been doing it for years, and it is impossible. It's impossible. I'll say it again. It's impossible. So there's a thing here about my own brain putting what I think other people's expectations are into my responsibility. I've made that stuff up, largely. I mean, there might be evidence towards stuff, but I've made up their opinion in my head because they've not actually said those things to me. All these I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah stuff is all in my head. It's from the past, from when I was younger, because that's the way I felt when I was younger, and I've never, ever got over it. I've never moved beyond the I'm not good enough thing. Never moved beyond I'm not good enough. And that is becoming blatantly clear this week. I've never got beyond that, although I know now I am capable, I am good enough, I can do this, I can do that, I can do things, I know who I am. And it's been by seeing these things clearly and realising that they are from a past self, and in this lifetime past self, where I felt shame, guilt, not good enough, when I was a teenager. And then also I'm able to look at other things now and be like, well, that's stupid. That's impossible. Why am I going to beat up myself for not being psychic? I can't read them, and I don't know what they're going to ask. I've written a great big long list of all the questions they ask, and it's still not long enough. Literally, it's pages. And it's still not long enough. It's still not good enough. And we get like 20, 30 headcount requests every 2 weeks in just one of the areas. In the other area, we get another 20 to 30. And that one's not simple. Anyway, so there's a lesson here about compartmentalizing, moving past old selves. When I touch this, I want to say decompressing for some reason. Knowing you have the knowledge, skills, experience, life to bring you forward. The clock says 33:33. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling, but I think it's important because, I don't know, it's coming out as a, oh, look at this, teamwork. See there. You got this underneath Hermit as well. You got Hermit, solitude, rebalancing yourself, reforming the person, moving past unrealistic expectations that you've put on yourself and that other people may have. Finding the power to say, these are unrealistic, or actually, do you know what? These things aren't true about me either. I am capable. I can do this. I shouldn't feel guilty for not being able to do something that is overwhelming, huge. I've not been taught properly, etc., etc., etc. And all I can do is get better at it. At the end of the day, that's all we can ever do, is get better at it over time, allow ourselves the space and time to get better at it. then there's teams, there's teamwork, there's working together, there's not doing things entirely on your own, not holding the whole lot on your shoulders on your own, in perpetuity. I don't know what that means. This is coming through. In perpetuity of the expectation that you should be able to do this stuff completely on your lonesome. Like, it's not realistic, and it's not the way things work. It's not the way people work. And guarantee you, every single manager that I'm dealing with at the moment have made mistakes. They have, they've had these anxieties. They've had these perceptions of self. They've felt not good enough. They've felt shame. They've felt guilt. They've also carried on, developed themselves, got better at their jobs, and they've also relied on their teams. And they've also been able to say, could you help me out? Help. Could you help me out? Asking for help. Okay. Teamwork. That's coming through. Ooh. Okay, Seven of Swords. Always makes me think of sneaky stuff. I need to look this one up, so I'm sure I'm missing something here. Oh, a deception or betrayal, taking only what's needed. The universe bearing witness to true intentions. Oh, getting away with something. Being strategic, being grateful for the resource you have. Moving silently and quickly. Okay. Being grateful for the resource you have. Being strategic. Interesting, because as much as it does say about deception or betrayal, it's more for me about bearing witness to the true intentions and knowing you've got the resources you need to do the job. Bearing witness to true intentions. You've got your own true intentions to think about. You've also got the true intentions of other people. And the true intentions of my managers, for example, is just that we do our job well, right? That we can present a headcount requests and have minimal questions that come back. Now, the fact that they come back with kind of stupid things which don't matter and shouldn't affect the approval process really, makes me wonder what their true intentions are. And I know for a fact they don't trust this specific business area, so I know that, and that's why they ask so many questions, because they don't believe most of the bullshit that comes out. And I don't blame them, to be honest with you. True intentions here are basically just to make sure that everyone's in line and they're doing the right thing when they should be doing it. But it's just painful. It makes my team feel as if they are doing a bad job when they really aren't. It makes me feel that way sometimes. I've only been doing this for 10 weeks. I mean, I went on to comment for 18 months. I was doing this before, but back then I had one business area which was about 600 people. Now I'm back, I've got 3 business areas and it's 2,200 people. 3 budgets, 3 resource tracking, 3 recruitment sets of recruitment people, 3 sets of headcount requests, 3 sets of heads of department, 3 sets of directors, 1 chief finance officer. And a partridge in a pear tree. 9 of Cups. Yeah, happy endings, celebrations, coming to an end. Something's coming out, so it's coming to an end. We're coming out of the other end. I mean, there's always a new beginning, isn't there? But coming out the other side of the craziness, maybe, for now, which would be nice. That sits under the Page of Swords. Under learning, balance, discovery, seeking the truth, seeking. Never stop seeking. Always trying to find the answers. Always trying to find a means to develop. I'm shuffling the cards right under the microphone. I'm going to have to listen to see whether or not that is really loud for you guys. Sorry if that's the case. I'm just shuffling away while I'm talking because it's habit now. I'm going to stop shuffling now. Okay. So far we know that overwhelm, there's a fracturing of self that needs work to bring back together again. And you can do it. It's possible to do things on your own, but there are people around you as well. There's development, there's challenge, there's seeing true intention, seeing the true self. But there's also, you always have this cycle of coming in and going out, coming in and going out. So a movement of change, and change involves this sort of process of going through challenging times, because that's the way things work, right? Without the challenge, everything would be very samey all the time. I'm just wondering if I should pull any more cards from somewhere else. It's a message of overwhelm. I've felt completely overwhelmed. Okay, I've been asked to use my own cards, which I'm looking to get printed. 116 cards though, it's a lot. And stalemate, coming to a standstill. Are we at a standstill? Is that a bad thing? Sometimes it's okay to stand still and just let things settle, because you have to integrate. And that was one of the words that came up earlier actually in my writing, was the word you need to integrate. It says, this is you changing, not just you, but potentially others as well. This is growth. It is integration. It is creating a new norm. It is finding that part of you that can be more than it was. This is you seeing you in a new light. This is you being given the opportunity to grow in yourself. This is you creating a new you so that you are able to move on, to be different, to be new, and to release who once was. So it's okay to stand still. It's okay to come to that impasse, to come to that point of solitude, that point of recognizing the fractures, fragments, seeing each fragment, realizing that they are past beliefs, past self-talk, past self, coming into, well, because that past self, that past was integrated, right? It was integrated way back when, and then it's been repeated over and over and over again since that point. So it's been embedded so deeply that it's hard to, it's still there, right? No matter how much but if we can get to a point where we can recognize it, see it for what it really is. And what it really is a made up self-impression that we had when we were younger, and that we've carried on perpetuating in ourselves, brought it forward, if you like. And even though we know we've changed and we're new and we're different and we're not the same people, those old feelings are still there, so they can pop up whenever they like. They can just be like, hey, do you remember that time? do you remember this feeling that you used to have when you were younger? We haven't had that for a while. Let's explore that for a bit, shall we? And it sucks arse. But it also gives us an opportunity to see it and be like, no, actually you can fuck right off. I'm not that person anymore. So I've got my power now, I've got my strength, and I'm going to take this as my opportunity to say to you and to that past experience, yes, you happened. Yes, I had those feelings when I was younger. No, I can't change it because it's in the past. What I can do is say fuck off and move on. quite strong words there from myself to myself. Be steadfast, be persistent, be resolute. Thank you, card. Yes, do this thing. Right, that will count. Feel your connection and be open to that. Be open, open yourself to new possibilities. The word glimpse just stood out there. I've got a couple more on neutrality, manipulation, and nature. Ooh. So nature versus nurture came out there when I pulled that card. Nature. What's in our nature? What was nurtured? What did we nurture? What did we say, yes, I'll accept that as me, and then that will be me from now onwards? Or what did we accept from somebody else that said, this is you, and we were like, oh, okay, is it? Okay, fine, I'll get what you're saying, and I'll just take that with me. Thank you very much. That's in my pocket now, and I will remember that. Or did we think, or did we have that instance, and I think this is more often true, did we have that instance of where in our heads we've gone, oh, they think I'm this, so now I'm clearly that, then I'm not good enough, blah 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 blah, all the bad things, all the good things, I don't know. But those are impressions we've given ourselves that we think other people are thinking about us. But for one, that's not necessarily true, and for two, we gave those thoughts the power to have that kind of ability to change the way we saw ourselves. Neutrality, I think, is a really interesting card because, and the reason I put it in here is because being neutral means not taking sides. It means being impartial. It means being detached. It has having a third perspective. And for me, part of this spiritual journey is having that third perspective, is having that ability to not say I'm more inclined towards this than that. It's having the ability to be able to say there's no right or wrong. That's your opinion. That this is more of an objectivity. It's witnessing without judging anything, and that's the nature of being, is to be. The judgment comes from the head, the mind, the ego, and that's the whole thing about, and it manipulates. The thought process is the ego, the mind that distorts, it manipulates, it twists things into thought processes that can destroy, that can really harm yourself and other people. It can, or relationships. It can really harm your ability to like live and be and just be a spiritual being in a human body, because it stops you from being able to deal with stuff like this. It's the brain. It's the brain going, these things are true, these things are not true, this is right, that is wrong. And you can get really strong opinions about stuff. Then you've got really strong opinions because it's a mirror. It's a mirror of what you think other people are thinking. Is what you mirror outwards. It's what you reflect outwards. So that becomes true. Okay, I'm thinking of all this as I'm saying it. I'm not remembering it all as I'm saying either, so I need to listen to this back. But neutrality is the key here. It's the acknowledgement that yes, okay, let's make this a work thing. It's the acknowledgement that this work needs to be done. Let's do it in neutrality okay, is it possible? Can I work without having any kind of emotional fixation on what I think other people are judging me for? I must be able to do that. It must be possible, right? I'm going to give it a go. Let's see. We'll find out. Neutrality. I like that. Okay, awesome. Right. I don't think there's any. Is there anything else? Sorry, I need to ask. Is there anything else? One more. Okay. Let's see, shall we? Is there one more? Is it one of these or is it a tarot card? It's a tarot card. Right. Trying to shuffle it away from the microphone. Oh, I'm being told that maybe that one. Oh. Five of Cups. This is change. And it's allowing something to fall away. Letting go. Changing by acknowledging it's there and letting it go. And allowing it to. She's a part of her is flowing out with it. She's letting it go. She's allowing that part of herself to go. So the thing here is that when you're overwhelmed, like I was on Thursday for the entire day, I think I was overwhelmed from 8 in the morning until around about midnight. You can't switch it off at the time. You can't, because my brain was, I was shaking. My brain was in fight or flight mode and I couldn't function. I did a day's work. I went to meetings, but whilst I was not in a meeting and I was sitting at my desk at home just crying whilst working. Yeah, heady days. And really thinking about it, I wanted it to stop, and I actually hid in my bed for a bit. I had lunch, and I didn't have a lunch break. For an hour, I laid in my bed with my duvet over my head and just cried. I wanted it to stop. It wasn't going to, because I couldn't switch it off. I couldn't switch my brain off. There were all these things happening, all these different things. They'd fractured out, and I'd fractured out, and I'd become this fragmented person that couldn't cope with all this crap. And it was just too much. And then more stuff kept coming in, and more people had expectations, and all this other stuff. Anyway, so everything had gone. It hadn't gone tits up. I'd always been honest with you, looking back at it. I mean, it was just one very minor thing happened, and I was just like, ah! I now can't cope. It was too much. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. And for that day, I couldn't cope. But I came out the other side yesterday, still wanting to cry, still very close to tears. I mean, I could literally cry right now. But I've been able to look back at that day and see all the separate parts. And actually doing this reading's helped, because it's meant that I've been able to verbalise this, and I've been able to recognise all the things that were happening. And actually, I'd really recommend it to anyone, is if it happens, let it happen. Let it happen, because you can't make it stop. It's not good. In fact, the more you try to make it stop, the worse it gets. The one thing I did on Thursday, which I think helped, was to allow myself to cry. I allowed myself to cry. And the other thing was talking to people. They asked me if I was okay. I did not pretend that I was okay. I said, no, I am not okay. Or if it was someone I didn't really want to talk to, I'd say it's best not to ask, and then just moved on. But other people that I knew I could talk to, I would be like, no, I'm not okay. And I would normally not do that. I would not have done that in the past. But yes, but on Thursday, I was like, no, I need to say it. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm not okay. And I had some really nice conversations with people. But it didn't make the overwhelm go away. It didn't generally. I didn't come out of those conversations and was like, oh, now I'm okay. I came out of those conversations and cried. And cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. My eyes were really puffy and red by the end of the day. And, yeah. but I allowed myself to cry, and then allowed myself to recognize the possibility that I was going to be okay on Friday. I was like, Friday's a different day. Friday's an opportunity to have a different day, to not cry, to just do one thing at a time, to break everything. And what I do, I broke everything down into manageable parts, and I did all the things I needed to do. And then I wrote a list of all the things I need to do next week, which was like revolutionary. And I'm feeling okay again. And I just gave myself that time. So just remember that when you're overwhelmed, the pressure to try and be okay can add to the feeling of being overwhelmed, because you're putting the pressure on yourself to deny emotions that are happening, and the more you deny them, the worse they can make you feel, because you're saying, no, I can't have those feelings. And then they're like, oh, yeah, but you are having these feelings, and you just need to have them right now. You just need to have these feelings. You need to have a shit day. You need to have this experience. And acknowledge that fact, and have the shit day, have the feelings, and then look back on it the following day or the day after that, and just like, well, what the hell happened there? And just figure some stuff out. But yeah, anyway, I have no idea if any of this would have helped, but it's helped me with saying it out loud, and I think saying it out loud is a big challenge in and of itself, isn't it? And that's the thing I would recommend for most people to do, actually, is to say it out loud, is to practice speaking it into existence, speaking you into existence, speaking your thoughts into existence. Writing it down is great. It's quiet. It's private. You can write whatever you like. No one else is there. You can't. But if you're saying it out loud, and if just you can tape yourself, dictaphone. You can film it. You don't have to show anyone. But saying it out loud, doing these readings out loud, is very different to doing them in your head. You just do the cards for yourself, and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, Saying it out loud, you end up going deeper, thinking about it more, talking about it, brings out the words and the understanding, because you're trying to verbalise something that is just in your head, and that's in the cards. Verbalising is interpreting the message, that if you're just doing it in your head, the message is more like a feeling than it is words. Words define, words are labels, blah, 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 blah. So being able to verbalise it is more than having a feeling. It's putting it into context, and it's diving deep. And the feeling is great. The feeling is there, but it's more fleeting. If you've got a record, why this is happening? If you've got a record, you can watch back, you can listen back. Oh, how did that happen? Okay, interesting. I don't know how that would have happened, or why it happened just now. Honestly, I'm starting to think I've got a ghost, because that wasn't like that a minute ago. Something had wrapped itself over the wire, which was pulling the camera. And yesterday, I was by the back door, which was locked, and I heard like someone had rattled the handle. It's a glass door. I looked and I was like, there's no one there. I went up to the door and I rattled the handle. It was exactly the same noise. It was locked. I was like, that's weird. Never before have I heard these things. Anyway, very strange. And now I am truly rambling. Yeah, saying it out loud. Say it out loud. You don't have to listen back, to be in all honesty. You can just know you've done it. It's like saying, if you're doing a presentation, for example, and you come to present it and you realise you have never actually practiced saying it out loud. Then when you come to the presentation, you're like, whoa, this is weird. I'm now talking about a presentation that I've put work into, but I haven't actually said any. I've not actually said this out loud before. If you practice saying it out loud, it's different. Practice saying this out loud. Do a reading for yourself. Talk to yourself. It's different. It's good. It helps. But when you're feeling overwhelmed, just allow it. For the time being, it will grow, it will crescendo, but then also give it the opportunity to break and then look back and be like, recognise all the separate parts that were driving you nuts, all the fragments of you. Where did they come from? What's the perspective here? Can you find neutrality? Are these feelings things that have been nurtured over time that you've repeatedly thought about yourself? Where did that come from? Etc, etc. Anyway, I am finishing this now. So, sorry, rambled for an hour. I hope that was okay. If you got something out of that, then fantastic. Obviously take what resonates. Leave the rest. Do your thing, and I will hopefully speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.